Totzone Connecting is that sharing and relating that happens for your kids at their age group level and also for you with your own peers, whether they are in your own life stage or somebody else you just happen to know and have good relationships with from your own community. It doesn't matter, but what we're going to talk about here is what does it look like to share and relate? How do you help your kids share and relate? And how do you share and relate with the Shoal Creek community that we have here? Because the thing about connecting for your kids and what we would look at and what we would say is kind of what you need to do for these Totzone kids is it's very simple. What we really mean is check them in on a Sunday into Totzone. And that may sound overly simplified, but there can be that thing that's really hard to do, to leave your kid in the zones. It's something that is not easy for everybody. I know, as I've dropped off my son before and I go to put him down, he cries, and at first it's not comfortable for him. He's afraid that I'm leaving him. But there's so much power in checking your kid into the zones, because what I see and what I've seen at the student level is 15 years from now, the students that your student will know are the same kids that were with them in Totzone. It has been so wonderful to get to see some of my 15 and 16-year-old high school students. They are in the same small groups with the kids that they were checked into Totzone with. And there is such a deep bond and such a deep relationship that those are the students that they go to Colorado with now. Those are the kids that they don't even go to the same school districts. They're not even a part of the same school district, but the common bond they have that is helping them be transformed into who God wants them to be is the fact that 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, their parents checked them into Totzone. And in those little classrooms, where they play with each other, where they get to hear Bible story time, where they get to have a snack, where they get to have a craft with each other, those are the relationships that are now weekly making an impact into their life. So kind of one thing to take note of, one thing to do at this Totzone level is to regularly attend on Sunday mornings. Check your kids into the zone so that they can start building the relationships that are going to be there for them 15 years from now if God still has you a part of the Shoal Creek community. And the other thing that's more important, or just as important, it's hard to place an importance on these, is for you to buy in to the J4 isolation to community, for you to buy into this fact that spiritual transformation does not happen outside of community. And it can be easy to check our kids into the zones, but our weeks are busy, right? We're always coming back to how busy things are and how hard it is to get a schedule that works, a schedule that doesn't just grind you down to the bone. So what can happen, where it can be easy at this Totzone level or any of the zone level, is we can just come to church on Sundays, check our kids into the zones that's age appropriate for them, and to feel like, okay, I'm getting church for my kids. My kids are getting church. I'm glad that they're getting some stuff and we feel good about it and good stuff is happening. But then our weeks get busy and it gets really hard for us to give the time to be in a group ourselves. What has to happen is we have to buy into the fact, and it's hard. It's hard to sign up for a group that meets weekly or every other week, that meets for 2 hours, to give up that time. It's easy to think, okay, if I just try harder, I can do this on my own. And maybe it's just a subconscious thing too. Again, we're just moving so fast. It's like, I barely survive with the time that I have. I'll just try to read the Bible on my own. I'll just go to church and try and take the message and try to apply it to my life. You absolutely need other people who can speak truth to you in love. That's what, there's a guy in the Bible named Paul. He writes this in a book, a letter called Ephesians to some people, and he says you need others around you. You're all part of this body. Some people are arms, some people are legs, some people are eyes, some people are nose, some people are ears. We're all different parts of the body, and we need each other. And we need people to speak truth in love to us, because you and I both know that most of the time we are our own worst enemies. There's things that we don't know about ourselves, or even that we are aware of. There are habits that we know we need to break. We know there are things in our life that just breaks God's heart. We know it. Knowledge isn't power. Community is power. People that can help you take that knowledge, the stuff you already know, but can help you apply it to your life, that can ask you questions, that can get to know you, that can care about your soul. That is power. This whole connecting stuff is about the power of a loving, caring community. It's about you buying into it. It's about you helping your kids buy into it by getting them into their age group. Because what the end goal is, what you're really wanting to do with this parenting thing, is you are wanting your child to grow up and to know how to share and relate, to know how to make meaningful relationships, that they would have friends, that they would leave your family unit with the ability to make friends with people who can help them become who God wants them to be. Because they're going to go out on their own, they're going to make their own families, and you're not going to be necessarily that central relationship anymore. And so we want them to graduate, we want them to grow up with the skills, with the know-how, with the ability to make meaningful relationships in our lives. And we don't want to have happen, what we don't want to have happen is this habit in our parenting where do as I say, not as I do. So that in Tot Zone, they don't question you. In ABC Zone, they don't question you. In Kid Zone, they might question you, but they still follow and obey. But you get to that adolescent years, it'll become really hard for you to say, yeah, you really need to go to your group, you really need to go talk to this mentor, you really need to go share your problems with this, but for you to not be doing that yourself. And then that student, that adolescent, starts to question, well, my parents say I need to talk to somebody about what's going on in my life, but they don't make time for it. Why should I? And so just kind of to recap a little bit is what we're wanting to do with the power in connecting is getting your kid into relationships, starting to make the habit of them forming relationships that are going to be the spiritual anvil and hammer that works God's truths into their lives, getting them into their age group, checking them in on Sundays, getting them building those relationships. And then for you to really buy into the fact that spiritual transformation does not happen without community, and for you to buy into getting into a group, co-ed, men's, women's, singles, whatever, but you getting into a group where you can reflect on God's truths with the truths that others can speak into your life so that you can have help growing into who God wants you to be.